Founders Live is the global venue for modern entrepreneurs, especially during these very challenging times. The direct impact of COVID-19 is currently being felt around the world, and it could get worse before it gets better. We are here to help you through these challenging times by connecting you to the people, information, and resources meant to move you forward as you start your next project.
We see an opportunity to bring the resources and capital and connections to the people that need it and the people that can use it, no matter where they live in the world. My honest opinion is, no matter what the economic climate is in the world, Founders Live can be important. In the good times, when it's booming, we're here to help grow companies and have them access capital that's flowing around the world and really be a fun, great event and global platform that powers entrepreneurship. In the tough times, we actually think we can be the answer, given the fact that if people are actually getting laid off and unemployment starts rising, well, the choice to start their own business is front and center, and Founders Live is right there to help them grow. I believe the secret sauce of Founders Live lies in the combination of these three words: inspiration, education, and entertainment. Inspiration is rooted in the energy and the passion that every single attendee has. The education is the information that we're bringing to people that they otherwise couldn't find. Founders Live Online helps solve entrepreneurs' daily challenges. If you have a question that you're just wondering, like, I don't know what to do here, you simply need to just type it into Founders Live and someone else will answer it right there for you. And the entertainment is the fun. We believe business should be fun, we believe it should be casual, and we believe it should be inspirational. Founders Live is the perfect place for you to connect with other entrepreneurs and to be inspired.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Washington, D.C. Founders Live. I'm excited to be, my name is Monique Frey, and I'm super excited to relaunch, to lead, and also to host the first virtual Washington, D.C. Founders Live. The first one we actually had was in 2019, held at the Google Studios in D.C. Let me see, the viewers who are watching today, how many of you actually attended that in-person event? That was 2019 at Google. I know some of you who registered today, I saw your faces at the Founders Live at Google. So please let us know if you're here today. I just want to go over the agenda quickly. I am excited to let you know that we do have a keynote speaker, also a dear friend, Salima Villani. We've got the 5 DC startups who will pitch, and from there we'll have the voting. And so how the voting works is that there will be a QR code on screen. You just take your phone and scan that. I'll go through that later again. And then we'll interview the winner, and there's a bit of a networking, which is optional after this live streaming. I do want to say thank you to Nick Hughes, who's our founder and CEO of Founders Live. This started in Seattle just a few years ago. So there we go. Thank you, Nick. He's watching from Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us today and for helping out. I really do appreciate that. I'm going to go on and bring on our keynote speaker, Salima Villani. Give me there we go. Hi, Salima. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for being the first speaker today. I just knew that when Nick asked me to do Founders Live DC, you were the first person I thought of. To the audience, I have known Salima for a few years, being in DC. She really is an inspirational human being, not only in DC, but also globally, with her social entrepreneurship vision. I do wanted to share her story. Let me just quickly read through a bit of her bio. This is who she is. So Salima Vellani is an award-winning innovation strategist, a 9 times founder, a TEDx speaker, one of my favorites, an adjunct professor, and the best-selling author of the book called Innovation Starts with I. And I do want to actually show you, I've got the book in front of me. Oh, there we go. So yeah, Salima gifted me the book, and there's a personal note that says, Monique, your story is powerful, use it well. And I want to say that each and every one of us here, the viewers too, you each have a story to share and to tell. And I know that people will be impacted by the story that you have to share, and especially within the social entrepreneurship. Also, she is the founder and CEO of Ripple Impact. That is a business accelerator and a community that actually helps entrepreneurs to grow their business and also to scale their platforms. She also teaches design thinking and entrepreneurship at Johns Hopkins University and is a frequent guest lecturer at the business schools. More to say, for nearly 15 years, Salima has led more than 100 startups, international organizations, nonprofits, and Fortune 500 companies to the next stage of growth and innovation. She contributes to the Forbes Women and has published 15 research publications, most recently on promoting a circular economy and improving refugees' livelihoods through hydroponics. Wow. Salima, please share your story with us, your entrepreneurship journey.
Thank you so much, Monique. It's an honor to be here. Can you see my screen?
I can see you.
My screen?
There we go.
Okay, wonderful. So let's get started. Thank you for the introduction. Today, I'll be giving a talk. It's actually called Innovation Starts with I, which is the name of my book. And let's get started.
Let's do that.
So it was December 2015 when this very home that I'm in right now, had just purchased at the time, had a really bad fire. And you can see some pictures here of some of the shots. You can see my brother walking through the hallway with the water. And it was a really, really, really traumatizing event. And, you know, it was a time of my life when everything seemed to be going wrong. It was like I lost 2 jobs. My relationship had fallen apart. It had just gotten divorced. It was just, everything was just not good. It felt like I'd gone through what I would call a life quake, or what Bruce Feiler calls a life quake. I would say life crash. I mean, when your life just falls apart and everything hits the fan and you just have no control. And especially after you feel like you've created or you've climbed some sort of ladder and then you just hit the bottom, rock bottom. And so I ended up, I was displaced for several months. And I ended up, I didn't have a job here at the time in Washington. So I said, let me go and do this Eat, Pray, Self-Love trip. And I went to India, to Bali, to Thailand. And I really went to go figure out who am I, or who is Salima going to be, this next version of Salima, because whatever I was doing just felt like it was no longer what I was supposed to be doing. But I didn't really know who that Salima was supposed to become. And having been an entrepreneur, I've always used tools to try to figure out, well, what are the things, using self-ideation, I call it, is sort of self-reflection tool. And what are the things that I'm really good at, my skills? What are my values? What are my passions? What experience do I have? And it's quite interesting because, this wasn't my first crisis. You're going to learn more throughout the rest of this talk. But, I went and traveled and I did a lot of inner work. I did a lot of discovering. I went to ashrams, did a lot of meditation, did all sorts of stuff in India, Ayurveda, massages. I was just really trying to take care of myself because there was a lot that I went through.
Wow.
And, I did all this work and try to figure out, well, it also made me realize that success isn't just about climbing that upwards ladder. And it really redefined how I saw success, because prior to that, I had different definitions of success, building wealth, having successful businesses, having my dream job, traveling the world and all these other things. And then I realized that success is really about adapting to these life quakes, because it is really about reinvention. There's so much reinvention going on right now, and how well we navigate those life quakes and how we navigate and deal with them determines how we'll come out of them. And these life quakes actually happen. They're sort of like major disruptions that happen when we're about to evolve into the next version of ourselves. And you can choose to either be proactive about it, or what I did was very, very reactive when I was just waiting for all these things to happen to me until I finally did that work. And entrepreneurship is really, I like what, there's a lot of people that talk about now that, like James Clear, for example, says that entrepreneurship is really a personal transformation journey. And it's not so much, it's disguised as a business in a way, but really it is a personal transformation journey. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So I talked about life quakes and these versions of ourselves. And so, we have these like different versions, and I was probably at like a 2.0 version of myself at the time, trying to figure out who was Salima 3.0. And I call this period that we're living through right now, and especially we've seen it really, we're feeling it a lot, especially in the pandemic, the reinvention revolution. And we've seen that with the reshuffling going on, with the Great Resignation. A lot of people really feeling that they need to reinvent themselves, and they're just not sure how or what. And we see that a lot with people going into entrepreneurship or wanting to go into entrepreneurship, make a corporate exit and do something else that's more meaningful to them. But you don't have to wait for a life quake to happen for that next version of yourself to happen. Or you can mitigate, how bad those life quakes can be, or reduce the effect of them. And so I just wanted to mention that, it's so important to be aware of when you're about to go through a reinvention, so that you can manage that proactively instead of waiting around. So interestingly, when I came back from Bali, from that India, Thailand, Bali trip, I thought that I'd done all the work and that I was coming back to Washington, D.C., and I would figure things out once I got back here. But that wasn't so easy. I'm Canadian. I was in Canada, and I actually couldn't get into the United States. And the immigration officer was like, "You don't have all the right paperwork to come here." And I was like, "What do you mean? This is my home. This is where I have my house. This is where my family is. This is where I work. This is, where I would be working." And he was like, "Nope, you have no rights." And so he escorted me out of the airport in Toronto. And so I came back the next day at the airport and was like, "Let me do a different story today, because obviously what I did yesterday didn't work." Wow. So I was like, "I'd like to enter as a tourist. And I know that tourists get up to 180 days. So I was like, well, I can buy myself 6 months to like figure something out." And he was like, "Nope, I'm giving you 2 weeks. I'm giving you 2 weeks to figure out your situation and come back to Canada and apply for, a proper work visa." And I was like, "Oh, so I have 2 weeks to go find a job, and that has a visa," which is very rare. There's like only a couple organizations that give that in Washington, D.C. And I ended up going on what I call a 100 coffee challenge. And on this 100 coffee challenge, I literally went through my phone list, my contacts, my emails, and I was like, I need to talk to as many people as possible. So I was scheduling, 8 to 10 coffees every single day. And, I was meeting up for happy hours, for breakfast, for, lunch, dinner, everything I could, going from organization to organization, cafe to cafe. And it was insane. I'll tell you that. I slept at different friends' houses. I was desperate. And interestingly, I tried to practice something a little bit different one day. I was like, well, let me try being a little bit more vulnerable and let me be real and authentic about my story and what I was really going through, which was really embarrassing. I didn't even, have access to this home at the time. And when I practiced that, it was interesting how those coffees, the quality of those coffees and those conversations changed, and people were more willing to help. And I ended up actually landing 2 jobs. I took one of them, which is actually a consultancy with the World Bank, to do some research on refugees and hydroponics and different ways to solve food insecurity for refugees in the Middle East and North Africa, which I'll talk more about later. But my point is that, innovation isn't just about technology. And when we talk about, for example, the iPhone, a lot of people think the iPhone is innovation. But we often forget that, that Steve Jobs, he went through his own personal transformation journey. If you've read his book, when he got fired from Apple, he went on his own sort of journey in India and searching for enlightenment. And it was when he came back to Apple, he was really able to innovate, put together a team and execute his vision. And that's how innovation happens. It starts at the very individual level. It's like we're the catalyst to the innovation. It's not necessarily about just getting together in a workshop or, do some design thinking and let's just, get people together and innovate. It actually is, it starts at the individual level. And that's why I say that innovation starts with I. It actually starts with reinventing ourselves. And so let's go back to that story. I was telling you about how I got that consultancy, and it was interesting that I had never worked in agriculture. I'd never worked with refugees. I could relate to being displaced to some extent, not the same as being a refugee. But also my parents had been displaced. They had to leave East Africa in the 1970s. They were in Tanzania. And they had to find a new home in Canada with only $100. And so I felt really connected to these refugees to figure out, even though I was not an agriculture expert, I was an outside person, even though, I like to say that being on the outside, it was actually easier to innovate than being from the inside. But the organization was doing a lot of traditional agriculture. And I was like, well, let's look at the situation a bit differently. There are, nearly 80 million displaced people in the world, forcibly displaced people, many of them refugees. And a lot of them are in the Middle East and North Africa. This picture I actually took in Djibouti at the UNHCR refugee camp.
Wow.
And interestingly, we don't often think outside the box. We were thinking, usually the organization would traditionally think, well, how do we innovate in traditional agriculture? Like, do we better our machinery? And I was like, well, how about we think differently? And my client at the time was like, well, I heard these different things such as hydroponics, aeroponics, 3D printing, and there's just different things and technologies out there. Can you come up with some technologies that can help grow food without using any soil? They don't have much water and they have no soil. So try to come up with some solutions. And I did a lot of research, and I went to New York, to Food Loves Tech, to so many different events, did all this literature review, and these were very sophisticated technologies. We presented them, and the project got postponed. We pretty much were like, nope, the senior leadership was like, this is not going to work. This is way too sophisticated. We don't have electricity in a lot of these camps, and none of this stuff is going to work.
Wow.
And this is where we were like, a year later, that same client came back to me and we had coffee. And she was like, we have more funding. Let's go to visit these countries and actually see what's going on the ground. Let's go visit the refugees. Let's go to Israel. Let's go to Palestine. Let's go to Jordan and to Lebanon and all these different places and see what's going on, because maybe we'll be able to see something different than the literature. And this is where I want to say that even though innovation starts with I, it happens with we. And the reason why we were able to do this work was when we got that funding, we were able to bring on more consultants, more experts, technical experts from different universities and, PhDs, just awesome people. We also collaborated with, the Food and Agriculture Organization, the World Food Program, and many different organizations that could help us out. And it was actually when we went to Israel and Palestine, this was in Israel and this picture was in Palestine, that we saw that there were already a lot of technologies out there that were very simple and they weren't so complicated. And it was through actually doing a 100 coffee challenge and meeting with all these different people in these countries that we were able to realize that there are ways to make this work without using soil and with using 90% less water than traditional agriculture. But no one had really made that combination of refugees and hydroponics. So what we were doing, we were pioneering something new. And my point here is that we don't necessarily, in order to innovate, and we actually got an award, and actually thanks, to a lot of the achievements, I was able to immigrate successfully and didn't have to be on visas a few years later. But essentially, we were able to, take refugees, take hydroponics, and find the right way to make an original combination, and make it work. And now they're actually implementing a lot of this on the ground. And you don't necessarily need to have new ideas. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we're like, well, what's this next big idea we want to come up with that's entirely new? We're living at a time where we don't necessarily need those new ideas. We can just take existing ideas and find a way to combine them in a unique way, in an original way. Yeah. And Seth Godin and other thought leaders talk about this all the time, that, we don't always need to focus on building new things, but how can we take existing things and leverage them that create value and just put them into a different combination? It's about how we package things. And how do we connect those dots? And that was an example, the refugees and the hydroponics. Now we're actually doing research. We just published something on insect farming. So we're like, well, the hydroponics helps with the produce, the lettuce, the tomatoes, and all this sort of stuff. But how do we get the more protein? And insect farming was, well, let's actually move to Africa. And we looked in South Africa and many parts of Africa and said, well, they eat bugs in many places. So why don't we figure out how to combine insect farming and hydroponics.
Oh,
And then they have, the nutrition, the protein, and all the different parts. And so that's what we're doing today.
oh my goodness, what a story. And I just want to touch on like a key word, connection and collaboration. Like I said, innovation starts with I, but it takes we to do that. And I know some of my friends who know me well, one of my life mottos is connection is the key to inspiration. And we need to be connecting, we need to be collaborating. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely. That's a huge, huge, huge part. So you can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And so I want to go back a little bit in time, because as I was learning this as an entrepreneur, I was trying to figure out, well, how can I become an entrepreneur again? And I started writing this book, Innovation Starts with I, 5 years before I actually continued writing it and got serious about it, because I had done a lot of things as an entrepreneur earlier in my career, and the circumstances were different, right? I wasn't even aware that I was an entrepreneur. It all started when I graduated in the financial crisis in 2009 or 2008, 2009. And I ended up going to Brazil because I couldn't find a job. I decided to go do some volunteer work. And when I got there, I was supposed to volunteer at this orphanage just outside of Rio de Janeiro in the rainforest. And my boss was like, we actually would like you to start a language school in Rio, in the city, in Ipanema, and find a way to get money to help the orphanage improve its infrastructure and bring more volunteers long term. And I was like, whoa, I thought I was going to be at the orphanage, but okay. He obviously saw my strengths and from the interview and said, I want you on the ground. So I was in Rio and trying to start this language school. I was trying to recruit these volunteers to come help me and figure out, well, how can we teach all these different languages and make money from it? So we started teaching. We got some teachers to teach some Portuguese locally. We hired some teachers, but we didn't have a lot of money. So we were like, well, let's teach languages ourselves as volunteers. So we were teaching Italian, French, Spanish, German, all these different languages. But the problem was that Brazilians weren't necessarily showing up to the classes, and they weren't as passionate about the mission of supporting the orphanage as were the foreigners that were very, very into the proceeds going to social impact. They were interested in visiting the orphanage. They were interested in samba and capoeira classes. And they were very interested in building a community. And so we realized, we were about to fail. Actually, we were not able to sustain, because except for the Portuguese classes that were very popular with the foreigners, all the other classes, the German, the Dutch, the Spanish, the Italian, and all those other classes that were targeting the locals were basically, instead of group classes, they were like private classes. People weren't showing up. We were not able to charge as much, obviously. It was, the foreigners were the perfect audience for us, but we weren't aware of it until we actually were about to fail and said, let's look at this a different way. And we realized that we needed to take out all those other languages and just focus on Portuguese for foreigners. Sure, the cost would be higher having more teachers, but we would also be able to bring in more revenue. And once we made that switch, the school was able to scale up and it was very, very successful. There was a lot of demand. We were able to turn it into, there was like a study abroad sort of homestay program that we built. There was like accreditation and all these other, all these community events that we did. And it was ultimately very successful, but it took us that awareness to make that pivot, like most early startups and ventures need to go through. And it really took discovering our sweet spot and looking at, what are the things that we excelled at, we're really good at, what are the things that people said that we were good at, what are the things that we love doing, and we really loved taking those foreigners to the orphanage and doing all those other fun activities because they were like our friends. But there's also this other part here that is, what are the ideas we're open to testing? And those were all the other things we were testing, the homestay programs, let's focus on just Portuguese for foreigners, all the things we decided to test and see what worked. Some things didn't work, but some things really did work. We did partnerships with Lonely Planet, and it went really well. And today it's actually the top rated school in Rio, and a lot of other organizations have sort of replicated this model of social innovation of taking, a school or some sort of education and combining it with social impact. And yeah, it's just amazing to see it grow. It's now a social enterprise. So this sweet spot mapping process is really useful for when you're trying to do some sort of pivot or transition with your company, on your own in your career, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Doing this analysis, this mapping, and figuring out, well, what can you actually test is extremely valuable. And trying those things, keep them small in scope because you don't want to feel overwhelmed, and it can go a really long way. After Brazil, I ended up going to Italy. There's a love story there. But I ended up, this was 2009 again, no job, kind of job. I tried to get a job in an Italian restaurant. Apparently, they don't eat Caesar salad, fettuccine Alfredo. So apparently, I sucked at cooking Italian food. I tried to teach English, which was the easiest thing for me to do. But they were like, you don't have a British accent. And I was like, oh, Canadian, this is hard. I tried different things and I really just couldn't find a job. And the south of Italy, if many of you know, there's a lot of unemployment and a lot of brain drain. So it was pretty impossible, and a lot of mafia too. So I ended up, my brother was like, well, why don't you use some of your skills? And that goes back to the sweet spot mapping is, why don't you use some of your skills and try doing some online translation work? And I was like, I was skeptical, but I was like, I'll try it. I was getting desperate and I needed to pay for my pizza and gelato. So I decided to try it, and I went online and I started finding some translation work. However, I realized very quickly that it wasn't necessarily about me doing the translation work, because I could only translate into English. Even though I spoke all these other languages, I only really wanted to translate into my native language. But a lot of the projects were from English to other languages. And so very quickly, with my partner, I was like, well, let me go and get all these projects that translate into other languages, and let's hire people. Let's hire all these like remote economy freelancers that are looking for gigs. The sharing economy was growing, and we were trying to find talent, and it was very easy to find talent because it was growing. It was starting to grow, and people were willing to work, and so that was like a new thing at the time. And so yeah, it actually grew. It grew into a 6-figure business within just a few months. We were doing something different from the traditional translation agencies. Again, no experience in the translation worlds before this. But essentially, we were able to translate into HTML. We were helping a lot of companies that were buying, .de, .fr, .es, and all these different domains and websites, and they were trying to figure out how to go global, and we were helping them with that transition. And because we were human translation, that also added another element to make us more original and to make us unique and high quality. And we had a whole quality control process. So that comes down to this tool that I like to share, which is the Great Idea Checker. When you're trying to vet your ideas, when those ideas you're open to testing, this tool is really helpful to check the boxes. Is it a great idea? And a great idea is one that's non-obvious. So with our translation online agency, it was really, quite non-obvious. It was different what we were doing, and that we were using humans to translate to companies that were going global, and we were doing it much cheaper than traditional translation agencies that were using softwares and didn't know how to use HTML. Concrete, it was very easy to explain. Timely, it was 2009. This was a time when there was no Google AI sort of translate situation where it had to be done manually, and it was useful because it was helping a lot of companies get business in different countries. Yeah. And so that business was ultimately very successful, and we sold it though. I thought it would be around for a very long time, but things, you have to think about your transition, your exit strategy, right? And so we saw that Google was starting to really get good with the website translation. They were just starting to test that, and so we decided to sell. We got acquired in 2012, thankfully, just before Google Translate really took off.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I was still trying to, this was like earlier in my career, and then let's fast forward. So let's go back to my reinvention journey after the fire and all this. And even though I was doing all that work with the hydroponics and stuff and being an entrepreneur, I was trying to figure out, how do I become an entrepreneur again? I'd done different things. I'd done a bunch of ventures at that point. Some failed, some acquired. And I was trying to figure out, how do you get started again? And I was doing different things. I was teaching design thinking and entrepreneurship, traveling the world. This was in Morocco. This one was in Liberia. I got at Johns Hopkins to teach. I was doing all these workshops. And I was essentially what I call a hybridpreneur, where you're doing some things for profit, you're doing some things that you're passionate about, you're doing things to help you grow and staying curious, and you're also making an impact on the community.
Nice.
And interestingly, I was like, well, I want to do something bigger. I wanted to write the book finally, and I also wanted to help more entrepreneurs and figure out, well, how can I become an entrepreneur again, but also help other entrepreneurs? And I didn't want to go through a crisis again or a life quake. And I wanted to figure out, how can I actually scale my impact into the world and make a really big difference on a lot of entrepreneurs? So I had to really figure out a couple of things. First of all, managing our time. And this is a very practical tool. I actually have it right here. on my wall, on my whiteboard. Every day I try to go through it and figure out, what are things that I need to do that no one else can do that are very important for me to do for my business? What are things that I can delay or push off until later? What are some things that I can delegate that I can, have team members do? And what are things that I can dump and take off my list? Because to be real, a lot of us have a lot of things that we don't actually need to be doing. And once I got this matrix, I actually adapted it from another matrix online. And I was like, well, this is actually a really great way to manage our time, because time is the one asset we cannot get back. I mean, if I see a lot of entrepreneurs and they're like, I'm trying to figure out how to design a logo. I'm spending a lot of time on social media. I'm doing all this. I'm like, well, do you really want to be good at things? Do you want to become an expert at those things? Because you really have to figure out and prioritize your time towards the things that make sense that you should be really good at. And the other things, hire people, find a way to work with strategic partners, build your team. It's getting easier to build a remote team today more than ever before around the world, and focus on the things that you should be doing and keep that list very small. Another tool that's really helpful to scale your impact into the world, which I also figured out in the earlier days, actually in the beginning part of the pandemic. I learned about this during my 100 book interviews. I went on a 100 coffee challenge during my book research, of course. And the innovative team recipe, this was actually inspired by one of the interviews I had with the chief innovation architect at Wells Fargo at the time. And he had something a bit different, but I adapted it into this for startups. And the innovative team recipe is basically like your team should have different personalities. You should have a visionary, which is the founder, obviously. And then you have strategist, somebody that's really good at taking those ideas and turning them into packages or products and services, and be able to really strategize. Having someone that can execute, or multiple people that can execute, that are good at building products, not necessarily ideas person, but person that will take the idea and make it real. And people that are good at experiences, really crafting the experiences, like designers, not just graphic designers, but think about UX and people that can really create an experience that the customer will love. And these 4 types of personalities are really key to have on your team. And well, when the pandemic happened, that's exactly what inspired me to grow my team at Ripple Impact. I realized we were just myself, the founder, which I was a visionary, and I was a strategist, but it was really hard to do both. And then I also had my assistant at the time who was doing all the execution and the design. And it was very overwhelming for us to do all of this, just the 2 of us. And so we decided, when we learned about this framework, well, we need to have more people. We need a better strategist, and we need more executors and more designers. And that's when the idea of Ripple Impact was born. We were like, well, let's help other entrepreneurs. Let's become the team to many entrepreneurs that aren't ready to build their own teams yet. But the team is the thing that's also stopping them from making their impact or from being successful. And so we became the team to many entrepreneurs. And as you see here, our team went from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. Now we're almost 20. This was actually at our retreat in Colombia in November. We do like this co-living, co-working sort of retreats every few months. And now we've grown significantly, and not just in size, but in the value that we're giving to our customers, to these entrepreneurs, and helping accelerate them. And the other challenge is that, you really have to figure out, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're in a team, really knowing, and you need a team before you think you need a team. Remember that, as Steve Blank says, startups are really just a smaller version of a larger corporation. You still need a less structure. You still need a project manager. You still need a lot of the things in the corporate world.
Of course.
And this matrix is really helpful for you to really figure out, well, how do you really optimize the talent on your team? So what should you be doing? What should you be doing based on what you're really good at? What are you not good at? And what should you be doing? What roles do you need? What is the missing talent that's not on the team right now? And fill that out for the different people on your team, the different personalities. And oftentimes it's really doing this reflection where you can figure out, well, maybe you need more people, or maybe you will need more people in 6 months to be completely trained up. So it's better to hire them now. And this is something important that a lot of entrepreneurs should think about early on, because we often wait until it's too late, or we want to be successful before we can hire people. And I think that's not the best way to think about it. You should really think about it before you feel like you need a team. And that's usually at the very beginning. I also want to say, we don't necessarily need more thought leaders. There's a lot of people out there that are like, I want to be a thought leader. I want to be known for this. And I think the best way to go about doing that is focus on being an active leader first. Yeah. Really try to focus on making an impact. A lot of times when I talk to entrepreneurs are like, I need to hit this in revenue. I need to get this many sales. I need to get this and this and this. And I'm like, well, why don't you focus on just helping your customers be wildly successful and focus on helping them be more successful than you would on yourself. And that's when you make a real difference in their lives. That's when you'll become a thought leader, because they're going to be, they're going to be bringing more business to you. And through how you're helping them, that will actually enable you to share that message and a lot of that advice of how you help them. And that will help your business grow, but also help you be more known for your message and really find your niche more too in that process.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And before I close out, and those are just some practical tools. There's a lot more tools in the book if you want to go through it. But I want to share, this is the Ripple Impact Framework. So as I always like to say, that innovation, it starts with I, it gets executed through we, and it has a ripple impact on our world. And it really starts with I, but we have to really work with people and communities and teams in order to scale our impact into the world. And in my book, I have these 12 future-proof capabilities. So, these are different capabilities, skills under I, we, and world. And it's really important to have these capabilities in order to future-proof ourselves. And, as I mentioned, being a hybridpreneur too, it's important to wear different hats and not just have one path. You don't necessarily need to just be an entrepreneur. You can be both and actually leverage that to build your community. As I'm closing out now, I want you to think about this. These are just some follow-up questions. Since you guys will be interacting soon, what are some things that you're going to do differently as a result of today's event? And which 5 people are you going to follow up with that you'll meet today? And how can you improve your story as you connect with others going forward? Maybe you should do a 100 coffee challenge and see if you can improve it in that process, or whatever way inspires you. And I just want to mention my book. It is available on Amazon. It's Innovation Starts with I. And if you're looking to go through some production or grow your business and have these tools to really help you, scale yourself into the world and make an impact, grow a team, the book will hopefully be very useful. So thank you so much.
Wow, Salima, thank you so much for sharing that story. And I know some people would want to get that book. I know sometime during this virtual event, we will be giving a book away. So please stay tuned for that. We are going to go on to the pitching competition now. I just do want to share the overview of Founders Live. Let me do this. There we go. Thank you for those comments, everyone. And just touching, I do want to just add again, we do need active leaders. I've learned in DC, I've also, a few years ago, was just into leadership and especially women in leadership, and I wanted to be a thought leader. I said, that's really cool. There's lots of ideas that I have, and so it just makes sense to be a thought leader. And then coming over to DC and just working with a wonderful visionary CEO, I've learned that it's all about action. There's a lot of thoughts, there's a lot of ideas, a lot of things are being said, but at the end of the day, we need those people to act. Some of the comments are, thank you, Salima, it was very inspiring. That story always inspires me. Simply amazing from Sapphire Harris. Thank you for that. Yolanda, I'm buying my copy of Innovation Starts with I as soon as this event is over. That's awesome. Thank you. From Series Creative Lab, that's a digital social marketing. They say excellent. Thank you for those comments coming in. Please, everyone, just those other viewers, there is a comment section in the chat. Just add your comments there. Such an inspirational story, Salima, from Alyssa Kirby. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to share the overview of Founders Live before we actually go into the 5 DC startup pitching competition. So just bear with me. Let me do this. There we go. So again, Founders Live is a global platform for entrepreneurs to connect with other entrepreneurs, people, resources, capital for the exposure that they need to become truly become rock stars, and especially in the entrepreneurship space. If you have a look on our website, we do have the Founders Live Insider coming up on the 22nd of March. So this is where you secure your chance of insider status and benefits, with the new membership launch coming on the 22nd of March. So you can go ahead and just scan that QR code, but you can find out more about that on our website. Again, Founders Live is all about empowering the pulse of entrepreneurship around the world. It's about inspiration. And as I said earlier, connection is the key to inspiration. So once you join this network, that's truly what you get. It's about education and, of course, entertainment. We have a global and local community. We've obviously expanded virtually, especially since the beginning of COVID. This is what a modern entrepreneurs, this is actually what Founders Live is all about. This is who we are, and this is what makes us successful. We've got the hundreds of guests. We've got the 5 startup companies, which only get to pitch for 99 seconds, after which we have 4 minutes of Q&A. You, the voters, get to vote on your phone, and there's one winner. So we really are the industry-defining brand for entrepreneurship around the world. And I'm glad that Washington, D.C. has been relaunched after 2 years. So basically what Nick, you started out in Seattle, we are still expanding around the world. And we do hope that any of you outside of DC watching right now, if you want to start this in your city or your country, please reach out to us. I want to quickly touch on the 5 core values. There's respectful authenticity. We include everyone, okay? And with this network of Founders Live, you truly belong. There's gathering around the campfire. As I mentioned earlier, it's about storytelling. You need to share your story. Be kind, be nice, without an agenda. And then, of course, business does equal fun. We added a 5th core value, and that's climate consciousness. We do commit to operating our global business in a climate conscious manner. So thank you for that. I think it's time for us to actually start the pitching competition. So I'm going to bring on our first presenter. Let me just touch on quickly. So these are the presenters today. It's Code and Play, Extreme Mobility Living, Tree Economy, Equality MD, and Grassroots Fund. This is how we will be voting. So those of you, you can actually just take out your phones now and scan that QR code. After the pitchers have completed their presentations, we, the audience, will get to vote with that QR code. Okay, let me bring on our first presenter, Philippe de Padua. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're good. I'm so excited about this. Please just let me just tell the audience that Code and Play is, God, that's I want to get this wrong. So it's a personalized online classes for kids to code. So why don't you go ahead and share more of that? You can share your slides with our audience and explain to us Code and Play.
All right. Thank you. Let me know if you can see my screen.
I can see.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Felipe. I'm a software engineer, and I'm the founder of Code and Play. You probably heard about topics such as the blockchain, the metaverse, and machine learning. And this new future is only possible through computer coding, and professionals with coding skills are in high demand. And there's a fast-growing number of jobs already requiring coding, and they pay significantly more. But here's the problem. We do not have enough qualified people to fill in the jobs being created. So meet Code and Play. We provide live remote coding classes taught by real engineers. And we develop our own adaptive curriculum and lessons, and we train our instructors to use our hands-on, project-based methodology. We have courses for all ages and interests, from gaming to data science. Code and Play offers one-on-one and group class subscriptions, and we also offer partner with workforce development centers to provide adult training. We made 50,000 last year, and we expect to reach 500,000 in revenue this year, especially with our new partnerships with counties in Maryland. So that's Code and Play in a nutshell, and here is our founding team. So thank you very much, and happy coding.
We do have a 4 minutes Q&A. So please, in the comments, just if you have any questions for Felipe, please go ahead and share that there. I'm going to tell Siri to give us 4 minutes of Q&A. Is there anybody in the audience who has a question for Felipe? I think I'll go ahead and ask, how did you, what is your story? How did you go about personalized coding classes for kids?
Yes, it'll be hard to summarize this in a few seconds, but I first started as teaching as a volunteer, and I always loved the experience of teaching coding to other kids. I saw the impact of computer science or anything coding related, and I wanted to spread my passion to other kids. And I started thinking about going more in the offline route, like going to schools and other places. But then I decided to use my engineering skills to develop a solution that was more scalable, more online, and accessible to everybody. So that's how Code and Play was born.
Thank you. Sorry about that noise. I'm hearing some noise. Okay, are there any other questions from, okay, here's a question. Can you expand on your revenue model?
Yes, all right. So we provide a subscription-based model. So that's more of a business to consumer way. So parents can sign up their kids for either one-on-one classes or small group classes. So they pay for a monthly subscription that they can cancel any month. So there's no hold up on their choice of subscription. And they can choose any course they want based on the kid's age. Again, they can partner with other kids. And usually our standard plan, it comes with one class a week. So this is a live class. And they have a re-engineer, as I mentioned, and we provide all the materials, all the platforms. So everything pretty much is included in our platform. And again, the kids can join from anywhere since it's a complete remote platform.
Nice. We do have another question from Kamazea. Says, what makes you different from other programming classes?
Yes. So we're a company created and run by engineers. So we want to be the best in coding. So there's a lot of tutoring centers that they are just there trying to match a student with a tutor. And you also find some other online platforms that do the same thing, but we are like a reference on a few. Like we teach the latest, as we mentioned, metaverse related courses. So VR, AR, we teach the latest technologies out there, machine learning. So we try to teach what is the best. So again, we have all these latest content. We have a real engineer, which means you're learning from the best.
Nice.
And we create our own curriculum. We make it very tailored to the students. And so we have full control of this process. So we target this audience, that parents or adults, which if they're doing the workforce development, that wants like a high quality training in coding. So they want to be overachievers and not just be exposed to coding.
Okay, that's good. So you basically have the subject matter experts. We also do have a question from Devin. How many developers then do you have on your team?
Yeah, so right now we have 2 developers teaching the courses.
Okay.
And we have other 2 people working on the business, on the operations side as well. And here and there we have some other contractors, but the main people are those people.
Okay. One more question. Who's your competition?
Yes, that's a good question. So our competition are, as I mentioned, tutoring centers, Also companies that provide some coding games online, coding challenges. And we see those as frenemies. We do encourage kids to learn on their own, to use some other tools to improve their engagement and their learning, but they really need that one-on-one, face-to-face interaction, especially for kids, since
Yeah.
it's hard for them to create the motivation to know the path to succeed. So they can still use other tools out there to learn, to increase their learning, but they still need a person helping them face to face to overcome their challenges.
Thank you. And on that, I do want to say thank you for the work that you're doing, taking the time and the effort to really focus on the one-on-one with those kids.
Yes, thank
you.
you very much.
All right, we're going to go on to the next pitch. That will be Sergey. Let me add him to the stage. There we go.
Morning, guys.
How are
Good
you doing?
evening, guys.
So you can go ahead and tell us more about extreme mobility living. You want to share with the audience what you're all about.
So we're gonna 3D print sustainable skyscrapers.
Sorry, let me. Hey Siri, can you do the timer of 99 seconds?
1 minute and 39 seconds. Counting down.
Okay, there we go, Sergey. So tell us more about. You want to go through your slides? There we go. So share
So
with us.
Did you know there are 1 billion homeless around the world, and 3 in 5 Americans live from paycheck to paycheck, and millennial families cannot even afford to buy housing in modern cities. So I'm Serge, CEO and founder of Extreme Mobility Living, and we are building a global network of 3D printed skyscrapers, which is mobile, sustainable, and affordable. And no matter what happens, new job in a new city or climate crisis forces you to become a climate migrant, you will be able to take your home with you and live everywhere. We have amazing team with construction, robotics, and mortgage professionals, and amazing advisory board. We have attraction, 36 people already sign up on the waiting list. We have a US patent granted for 3D printer and a great team of 19 people. We are on a mission to help solve housing affordability crisis for 1 billion people, because everybody needs to feel at home on a beautiful blue planet. And part of our team is actually in Ukraine. So how you guys can support us? You can sign up right now, go into extreme.com and sign up on a waiting list. And we're also trying to reach out to local investors. So we want this tweet to go viral. So if you guys scan the QR code and send a tweet, I will really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, she says it's a great need in today's world. Where did that idea come from?
Idea is actually personal struggle of founders. I actually used to live in California, and when I lost a job, I almost lost my house. And I started thinking about and discovering 1 billion people are homeless.
Wow.
And 3 in 5 Americans live from paycheck to paycheck. So it's like problem is so huge. I become passionate about solving it.
Oh, wow. Devin wants to know too, who is your competition?
The traditional Icon, Mighty Buildings, Boxable. Because we have a US patent grant, we can 3D print 50 times higher and 5 times faster versus competition.
Can you also expand on your revenue model?
So it's we use traditional condo, residential condo model. So residents will purchase a condo unit at about $250,000 each, and also pay a condo fee monthly.
Okay, and so what are the prices for these homes?
Starting from 250.
250,000. And In what areas?
So we're looking for areas right now, and DC obviously is a good choice. And we're also thinking about like SpaceX location in Boca Chica in Texas as well. Eastern Europe, the global network gonna be everywhere. So, but the first one, it will depends which city wants us more.
Okay.
If DC wants us more, we'll build in DC. So
Okay.
please vote.
They're awesome. But why the condo fees? What do they cover?
So it will be everything. The skyscraper will be sustainable, including solar panels. So energy will be provided. We're gonna have air-to-water system on top. So water will be generated from air, and we're also gonna include a vertical farm inside. So daily foods like greens, mushrooms, and maybe even fish.
Oh, wow. Last question. Have you built a prototype yet?
We have a small 3D printed prototype, and we are looking for investors, like visionary investors who can help us build first building. It's going to be first in the world.
Wow. Okay, Sergey, thank you for sharing your
so much.
Thank you for sharing your idea. Let me bring on the next presenter. We have Tree Economy. This is Emmanuel Gutierrez.
Hello.
Hi there, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. Can you see my screen now?
Hold on. Let me bring it on. Oops. There we go. So just give me a second. Let me ask, hey Siri, can you start the 99-second timer?
1 minute and 39 seconds, starting now.
Perfect. All right. So Triconomy, we are a reforestation investment platform, completely technology based, and we're actually located with our plantations in Colombia, South America. One of the members, like I'm one of the founders. My name is Emmanuel Gutierrez. I reside here in Washington, D.C. And we have other members throughout the states and Colombia. So what our true model is taking reforestation to the next level. We want to make this financial opportunity for future investors, they're actual retail investors, people that can invest small amounts of money for the model of reforestation. So as most people know, the trees take about 10 years to grow. What is really revolutionary about our model is that our platform can actually do trading at lifetime. So people don't have to wait 10 years to invest and retire, withdraw their profits. We can actually provide the ability for people to invest at any time and sell their investment to other investors at any time. So here we see the roadmap of a regular 10-year process for the trees. It goes from 7 years all the way to the end of the project around 10 years. What this really means is that the trees really take this time to fully grow and fully provide the life and oxygen for most people within the environment. And then after that, we responsibly cut the trees down and sell it to the market. Now, some of our models really play with risk in other areas. So we have actively.
So that's your 99-second pitch over. Sorry about that. We're going to go straight into the 4 minutes Q&A. Let me stop that. Wow, thank you for that. Are there any questions for Tree Economy? Let me go ahead and ask, how did you come up with, I know the name kind of makes sense, but where did you get the name?
Yeah, so
how did that come up?
Yeah, so we really saw an opportunity here, and it was about bringing the ability. We saw a problem where wood was costing way too much money, specifically in countries like Colombia, where we have such an immense amount of natural resources, but it was taking lots of money to produce responsibly sustainable timber to the market. So actually, Colombia imports more timber than it actually produces, because Colombia has responsibly created guidelines for people to stop, illegally deforestation and all of these things that are killing our environment. So we saw that opportunity, and at the same time, with the use of technology, we saw the option to create a trading platform for people to invest in these plantations. And we already have actually 178 hectares planted in Colombia. So
Wow. So one of the questions is, can you share more about your team?
sure, yeah. So I'm one of the founders. I live here in DC. I'm more of the head of investors and business strategy. David Marin, he's the CEO and principal founder. He lives in Cartagena, Colombia, and then we have Mateo Marin, who lives in also Bogota. He's one of our business analysts. And then we have our technology team in Medellin, Colombia. 2 engineers who are helping us with the website and obviously with the platform. We actually had a beta version going live next month. So yeah, lots of great things happening. Yeah.
Okay, another question. Are there competitors and how are you different?
Yeah, absolutely. So competitors, honestly, the main competition for us is this investment funds that have been going on for years, investment funds. But what is really different from that to what we do is that we have a platform where people can actually go in and invest, and think of it as like Robinhood. People invest, and through a period of time, they need that money back. They can actually sell that to other investors or sell it to the company, to us, and get that money and their profits back. So instead of waiting 10 years to get your investment back, you can actually actively trade it within weeks. So
wow. Are there any other questions from the audience? I think, do I have another question? So basically Tree Economy is innovative investment platform that's positively impacting the world through reforestation.
correct.
That's
And we are active here in the United States and in Colombia, and slowly but surely we are making our way through Latin America.
Wow, thank you for that. Last question, what's the larger vision? What's your big picture?
The larger vision for us is to make our technology more and more advanced. And once we can achieve that, we can expand to other areas, like other products, but again, keeping the same idea of sustainability. We need to be able to provide this type of service and products for our customers, but responsibly. So, other plantations, things like, avocado, other areas, and make our platform capable to manage more users. As of now, we have about 1,000 users, but we're looking down the road to about 5,000 users by the end of this year.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Wow. All right, I'm going to bring on the next investor, or the next picture. That is, there we go. We've got Justin Ayers, who founded Equality MD. Let me bring you on, Justin. There we go.
Hello.
Justin, hi, how are you doing?
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Everyone's Irish today.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, so let me just share your slides and then you can go ahead and start your... There we go. Hold on. Hey, Siri. Start the 99-second timer.
Your timer is stopped.
Let me know when to start.
Hey, Siri. Start the 99-second timer.
1 minute and 39 seconds. Counting down.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Justin Ayers. I'm the founder and CEO of Equality MD, the Match.com of telehealth. The National Institutes of Health has declared the LGBTQ+ community a health disparity population. That means they suffer from unique healthcare concerns, a lack of access to care, and systemic discrimination. These healthcare inequities have serious consequences. 56% of the community face discrimination when seeking care, causing 28% to avoid care altogether. This has extremely negative impacts on entire families and communities, and it costs the United States 1% of its GDP every single year. Additionally, data gaps about this community cause individuals and their providers to make uninformed healthcare choices and prevents businesses from authentically engaging this diverse market. At Equality MD, our solution is inclusive personalized health. Every single provider on our telehealth platform must go through LGBTQ cultural competency training. And we have a patentable machine learning matching algorithm that matches patients with providers based on their unique identities and unique personal experiences. Patients handpick providers their choice based on their compatibility score and their personal budgets, effectively making every patient the superhero of their own healthcare journey inside a safe space where they can be their authentic self and receive the care that they truly deserve. All this takes place within a HIPAA GDPR-compliant ecosystem where we collect new and valuable data insights. We collect money from our patients and providers to pay a monthly subscription fee, and our providers also pay a percentage platform fee. Soon we'll open a health and wellness marketplace and explore B2B opportunities and new market verticals. And as a former healthcare trial lawyer and entrepreneur, I've been asked one question more than any, and that's where can I find a provider that makes me feel safe? My incredible team here has solved that problem. We'd love you to be a part of the solution with us. Thank you.
Just in time. Okay, so wow, audience, we have questions for Justin at Equality MD. I think I can go ahead and ask the first question. So basically, you are the Match.com of telehealth, correct?
That's right.
So yeah, just explain that, and then just again, just share your journey of actually getting to that vision and to this idea.
Sure. So as a member of the LGBT plus community, I've personally faced my entire life issues with medical professionals and not either feeling comfortable or being turned away when trying to seek care. And some have, there's some horror stories out there. Mine are pale compared to some. And during the pandemic, I had one company, but I started thinking as a former healthcare trial lawyer in DC, I never wanted to go back to healthcare because it's such a mess. But during the pandemic, I thought this is a time when I really need to address this because I have the ability and the network to be able to do so. So I got people together who are a lot smarter than I am in terms of healthcare and coding, and we assembled a team of 9 people from all over the world. And we, over the past year, have built from scratch a machine learning matching algorithm that takes a person's unique identities and their personal experiences and matches them with providers that we have trained to be LGBTQ cultural competent. And the patient chooses the provider they want based on their percent score and what they can afford.
Wow, that sounds super cool. We have a question from Devin. Are there plans to expand your platform to other at-risk groups?
Absolutely. The LGBTQ community is unique in that it's organically growing as laws and social norms evolve and change, but it also represents every demographic on Earth. This is the tip of the spear when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we plan on working with other underrepresented groups, particularly from the healthcare community's perspective, but also in the corporate world. As corporations seek to understand how to attract and retain the best and brightest talent, they have to understand that people have values and they want their values to be reflected in the companies they work for and do business with.
Yes.
And so we're helping them be authentically inclusive by providing healthcare plans for their employees so that they can have inclusive healthcare benefits that they don't already have.
Wow. Another question from Yolanda. It's a big market, the medical online community, with the same model that you presented. So how will you stand out? And AI is a great start, but there's also AI ethics and policy concerns.
Sure.
What is that?
Our question, let me address that as such. First, big market, no question. PitchBook has identified 5 competitors in this space, of which Equality MD is one. 3 of the others only serve the transgender community, although important, is a very small niche in the broader LGBTQ plus market space. So we are the only ones that provide full mental health care to this community. And mental health, our community says 72%, that's their primary healthcare concern. And in terms of privacy, we don't collect any personally identifiable data at all. So we don't even know who you are. We know your zip code. That's the closest thing we'll ever know. The point is that you're able to match with a provider in a safe place that's HIPAA and GDPR compliant. So we're going above and beyond even American healthcare standards so we can expand globally.
Wow. Another question quickly. What are the challenges with compliance and privacy?
As long as you're HIPAA and GDPR compliant, that covers all the bases. It covers every single state and everything else there is. The challenge right now is telemedicine. If you're only allowed to practice in the state where you have a license, but that only applies to psychologists and psychiatrists. All the other types of mental health providers, the occupational therapists, the marriage counselors, the grief counselors, the hypnotherapists, et cetera, can practice anywhere We already have 24 providers in our system, and the largest LGBTQ platform out there, Volts, only has 16. So we're growing very quickly.
Wow. One last question. What's your larger vision?
I want to make this really a model for every underserved community out there. I have the privilege of being a white male and being able to walk into the room, but as soon as I utter the letters LGBTQ+, I'm quickly shown the door. And others don't have the ability to get to that point. And I want to make sure that we even the playing field, because healthcare is our primary national security interest, in my opinion. And if we can't take care of ourselves, then we can't live to our fullest authentic potential. I would love to see that happen from cradle to grave.
Thank you. Same here. And now get the name Equality MD.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Justin. Let's bring on our next presenter. That is Roxana Muzamal. Welcome to the stage. You should be. There we go. Hi, Roxana. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, so
Presenter and a female. So
yeah,
let's get started immediately. Let me just share your screen, or you can share your screen.
Yeah, so share my screen, and then there's the option entire screen, and then share system audio. Okay, I'm gonna do that.
And then I'm going to start the 99-second pitch.
Okay.
Timer.
Let's see.
Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, give me a second. Hey Siri.
Can you see my screen? Is it presenter mode or normal mode?
Your timer is stopped.
Okay, just give me a second. Hey Siri. Start the 99-second timer.
1 minute and 39 seconds, starting now.
Thanks, Roxana. Go ahead.
Is this on, can you see my entire screen? Is this on normal mode or presenter mode? Just want to make sure how it's being displayed. Monique? Okay,
You can
I'm
put on
gonna go
presenter
ahead.
mode.
Is it, I'm sorry?
You can put it on presenter mode.
Okay, can you see my screen, like the entire slide?
I can see your screen. Yeah, not the entire slide, but I can see the screen.
Which screen do you
from
see?
the audience as well. The audience can see as well, and I think you need to get on with the 99-second.
Okay, sure. Let me try to do this. It's stuck. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me start this from the beginning. Do presenter mode. Okay.
You have 30 seconds, Roxana. I think just maybe go ahead and just talk about Grassroots.
Okay, sure. Sorry about this. Okay. 90% of peer-to-peer fundraising is really hard for fundraisers. Why is this? Because asking family and friends for money is difficult. Most fundraisers, they stop asking after the first request. What is Grassroots Fund? It's a platform that it's an automated system that perfects direct fundraising so that the user has more time to focus on their cause. I'm the CEO and founder of Grassroots Fund. I've raised over $350K for nonprofits, and I've achieved success through I've achieved success in figuring out a way to how to create fundraising in a much more efficient manner through building this platform. How it works, you connect with your contacts, connect with all the social media channels, and it's simple as 1, 2, 3. We have instant notifications that get sent out, and it's automated. We generate revenue. Our pricing model is a subscription-based model, so we offer a 60-day and a 90-day fundraising package. Our 60-day package program is $320, and our 90-day program is $360. Success today, we plan on our goal for the end of 2022 is to get 150 subscribers, and our revenue, our projected revenue is $50,000. Our goal is for the end of this year is to get 150 subscribers. thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on my email address or go to our site at grassroots-fund.com.
Thank you, Roxana. Okay, yeah, let me just go back and apologize. I should have just restarted the timer for you to have the 99 seconds. So,
It's okay. I just went quickly. So
yeah, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, here's a question. Can you tell them more about what inspired you to build the platform?
Yeah, sure. So I was doing fundraising actually 8 years ago. I don't even come from the fundraising industry at all, and I've lost my father to cancer. So I was just really upset. And through the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, they asked me. I reached out to them and they said if I've raised at least 50,000 in a 10-week campaign, I get to sponsor a cancer research grant. So I was trying to figure out ways how to raise funds quickly in a short period of time, 10 weeks. And I realized through just reaching out through direct messaging, through social media, phone text, all of that, I was able to raise a lot of funds in that 10 weeks. I raised over 97K in that campaign. And then I've been on the leadership board with that society, and I've raised at least 10 to 15K for that organization. And then another organization reached out to me. So I volunteered for them, helped them raise over 20K for Girls Health Ed. And then I've just noticed that it's just so tedious and it's very hard. And it's just so time consuming and it's a very negative experience. And I just wanted to and I've noticed that when others do fundraising, it's just it's a very negative experience, and they should just change it to be more positive, build more relationship building. If someone doesn't donate, it's okay. It's about building those relationships, promoting about the cause. So I wanted to integrate something that fundraising can be both positive experience for both the fundraiser and for the donor. So I just wanted to just make it easier for folks to go about with fundraising.
Wow, that makes so much sense. We've got some questions here from the audience. Can you also expand on your revenue model?
Oh, yeah, sure. So my revenue model is, let me go back. My revenue model is, so we have two fundraising packages for programs, fundraising program packages. One's a 60-day program and one's a 90-day program. So it's subscription based. And the 60-day fundraising program, that's a 1 month fundraising, but then the month before that is the campaign setup and prep. So we work with you. We have fundraising coaches. We have pre-populated messages and canned templates, and we work with you and we do the network mapping with your contacts, and we segment your audience and come up with that. We do all the prep work in advance and work with you, and then that next 30 days we everything's set, scheduled, automated, and we just so it's also not only is it a platform, but it's also a service. So you're getting a service on top of a platform. And then for our 90-day, which is our pro package, that is a 60-day campaign service with a 30-day campaign prep.
Thank you. Another question, how does the 1, 2, 3 process work for clients? How does it simplify things for your campaign managers?
Okay, so we work with, how we go about simplifying it with, so we work with both nonprofits and individuals. So we sit down, we have meetings with them, and we get an understanding, their campaign, their contacts, and we organize it in such a way that we try to get an understanding their relationship, how close they are with those relationships, how they communicate, and we kind of tailor that communication based on their relationship and how they communicate, and we kind of integrate it into the platform. So if they communicate through text or phone call, we kind of have that integrated in our program. And then if it's just mostly email, we'll stick to mostly that. And if it's a friends and family, and we segment your audience. So we just try to get a better understanding of their network, because we want them to achieve success in their fundraising and to help them meet their goals.
Thank you. Last question. Is there a last question? Are they competitors, and how are you different?
Yes. So there are other CRM platforms, and they're much more expensive, and they require like initial setup cost and like a year contract and a lot of and we target mostly smaller nonprofits or medium size and individuals, and they just don't have the funds for it to and a lot of these other systems are much more complex to use. And another challenge is with these other platforms and systems is that not a lot of folks that are in the nonprofits are not very tech savvy. They just don't have the bandwidth to learn something. So we're also like a service in a platform. So we kind of provide that support because we really care about folks achieving success and reaching their goals.
Thank you, Roxana. Thank you for sharing the grassroots vision and story. That's the end of our pitching competition. So now it's time for voting. I do want you to take out your mobile devices. And so on screen right now, there is the QR code. So all of you, there's 16 of you, can you go ahead and vote? And I'm gonna give it 5 minutes. It is 7:24 right now. So after 5 minutes, we can announce the winner. So during this time, I will be bringing on Salima again. Let me just make sure. So if you look at in the comments, in the chat, the voting link is there. So you can click on that link if you do not have the QR code. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments. So right now you should be scanning and voting. Let me bring Salima on. Where is she? There we go. Salima, what did you think of the presenters?
Yeah, I thought they were very interesting pitches. I really like some of the ideas that have come up, and some of them I actually have heard a couple of them before, and I saw how they've evolved over the years, which is pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, cheers, Roxana. I've seen some of your work, how you've evolved and iterated. The one with the Colombia, that was really interesting. Just given, I've done a lot of our team members are in Colombia, so I personally felt a bit connected and was like, wow, there's a lot of opportunities there. And yeah, just a lot of really great pitches. I see there a lot of great work has gone into these pitches, and I think there's a lot of potential.
Oh, definitely. And I want to just say, just what I noticed and what we said earlier, and what Founders Live was all about, sharing your story. It seems like everybody here has gone, and what you said earlier, Salima, that's, innovation starts with I. Each of you had a personal story. You went through some challenges. There were crises. And after doing some reflection and realizing, going through the frustrations, you come out with just creating your own. And not just for yourself, but to make a social impact on the world. So I like how this all just ties in nicely. Salima sharing her innovation starts with I story and journey, and how the pitches, the presenters actually show that.
Very much so. I really love the personal story that you
Yeah.
all sort of had some sort of personal story tied into it, with your family or some kind of personal connection. And I think that's so key to feel from like an investor standpoint that there is some connection there, that you will be committed to actually carrying out this project, or actually really put your heart and soul and your sweat into the startup. So congratulations, everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I can see by everyone sharing their story, exactly just on your point, Salima, how when it's so dear to your heart, when something is so dear to your heart, you are going to just, you see that bigger picture, you have the larger vision, and you're going to do whatever it takes to actually execute. So Let me see. Are there any other comments in the chats while we're waiting for the results? Any other comments from the audience? What did you think? Please share in the comments in the chat box. I welcome your comments. Let's see if there's anything. Okay, let me go ahead and change the stage. Okay, from Founders Live to such great pictures today. I agree. Very interesting. And especially in today's world, especially in the world we're living in today. Let me find out from Nick if we have a winner. All right. So we do have a winner. Wow, Tree Economy. Let me bring on Emmanuel. Where is he? There we go.
Wow.
Wow, Emmanuel, how do you feel? You are the Founders Live DC winner for today, March 17.
Wow. I mean, amazing. Honestly, I can't think of. I feel like I should have shared a little bit more, but I'm happy that people really got the idea and understand this. Kind of like this project in a nutshell. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we've been working on for a couple of years, and we are now like at that time where we think is gonna really change things for us and for the actual vision that we have. So really excited. A lot of great things happening this year. So excited about that.
Wow,
So Salima, you were in Colombia? Sorry.
Yeah, I was in Colombia. Y también hablo español.
Qué bien.
Yeah, I love Colombia. I'll be there this year too. I have a lot of our team members there. I mentioned in my talk that I had an assistant initially who helped me in the early stages of my company, and then basically when we expanded the team, most of the team started expanding in Colombia. We were recruiting there, so there's a lot of great talent there, a lot of really great creative talent.
Oh my God, yes. Our technology team was 2 engineers now. For now, they're actually based in Medellin, which is where I'm from, Medellin, Colombia. And I mean, it's amazing the amount of talent. We actually had to compete a couple times with like Amazon and Google. We just had to sell the dream, the vision that we have. We just couldn't compete money wise, but yeah, it's tons of talent, especially on the technology side. So
exactly, yeah, no, and I always say that like for startups, I actually used to do a lot of teaching entrepreneurs how to hire remote teams many years ago in DC and sponsoring a lot of the events, including a lot of DC startup weekends and all that sort of stuff. We work, and interestingly, like people weren't ready to hire. They're like, let's hire local. And I think that there's so much you can do today because of internet and remote work and just virtual, everything being virtual, that for entrepreneurs, I always say, try to really make an impact even locally, like try to figure out how you can leverage the talent globally and bring that impact into your local economy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I mean, that's one of the things that we really thought about this project going in is we see the opportunity. Yes, it is kind of like an investment. Yes, there is money involved. There's a lot of things that we have to deal, especially with government policies, which in Colombia actually helps us a lot. But there is a lot of moving parts, and what is the actual idea? Where do we want to take this? How are we going to change things? And investors, your retail investors, our users, people that see us, people that believe in us, kind of maintain that substance. That's been some of the things more difficult for us, but at the same time, just keeping our vision, sticking to the plan, and so far we're going in a great direction, and we've seen the results finally.
Amazing. Keep going. Keep it going.
Keep it going. And just from the audience, great pictures. Charlene says a very inspiring group with a lot of heart, and I must agree. I agree that all of you were amazing. Thanks to all the presenters. So the winner does receive $10,000 in AWS credits.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Oh, you didn't see that?
Oh my God. No. And we need it. We need it desperately.
So that's what the winner gets. We'll obviously keep in touch with you afterwards, and then the other presenters as well. Let me share this. You also there we go. Let me share this with you. So AWS, all the presenters today receive AWS credits of $5,000, but the winner, Tree Economy, you receive 10,000.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Thank you so much. As we are a tech-based platform, AWS is great, but they're amazing. It's just limited resources. This is perfect. Yeah, we're gonna put it to good use.
I can imagine. And then also just Google Cloud for startups as well. There's $3,000 credits to the Google Cloud for startup programs. That's just what Founders Live continues to share with whoever joins our memberships. And obviously, there's other opportunities to grow into much more credits. There is networking for those of you who want to continue. I mean, there's just 11 of us on here now. If you want to continue to just meet in a Zoom, there is a Zoom link. We can meet up for the next 30 minutes if you want to continue speaking with Salima and the presenters and then just the audience as well. So there will be a link. There we go. The link is in the chat. If you want to click on there, and I'll start the Zoom in the next few minutes, and we can just continue to network there. Emmanuel, is there any last word before we step out of Founders Live DC, DC?
No, I mean, really, again, thank you so much, everybody that voted for everybody. You know, all the pitches I saw, all the business models, they were amazing. Thank you for everybody who voted for us, and you know, please go on our website. We have it in English and Spanish. Check us out. We have social media, and yeah, support this project. And you know, hopefully, feel free to reach out directly to me on social media and everything. All my information is on the website. So I'd love to connect with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then also, Salima, last words from you. And just maybe tell people where they can get your book again.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. I hope you had a lovely, lovely evening. And I feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. The book is on Amazon. You can also get some free resources at www.innovationstartswithI.com. And in terms of my last words, I would just say that, there's a lot of really great ideas here. And I think that really prioritizing, like I talked about in my talk, is really prioritizing your time and figuring out what are the things that you're best at and how can you sort of structure a team around you, a remote team, to help you accelerate, because you really have to move fast these days. Things are changing very quickly with this reinvention revolution, and also diversifying your hats. Like don't make sure that you're making some money while you're building your startup, so you can invest in that startup to grow, and you're not trading your time for money. So yeah.
And then also my last words would be, again, just thank you to our founder and CEO, Nick Hughes. Absolutely love the idea, the concept, and the vision of Founders Live. Please stay tuned for other future events in DC. Just save the date now already. April 27 is our next in-person event. So, and that's in a few weeks. So I hope all of you can actually attend that. I'd love to meet you in person, and where we can actually network and engage and continue the Founders Live community sharing of ideas and engagement and connecting with others. Because again, I'm going to end up with this: connection is the key to inspiration. I feel very inspired today by all of the presenters' work. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.